Yep. So we are a few races in. We've had a few traditional races. It's not just wild cards and road courses and stuff. We wanted to talk about if it's time to hit the panic meter for some drivers that are quite low in the points. The first driver, Brad Keselowski, in the number 6 is P30 in the points as we sit right now. Hasn't come close to a win, obviously. Is it time to sound the panic meter on Brad Keselowski? Sound the siren.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 4 or 5 with Brad. Like some of it's just crashes falling into his laps. I feel like
Yeah.
especially at Atlanta, that was kind of the case. Phoenix, very, very similar as well. And like
Yep.
Coda, he honestly ran better than I projected him to finish. So I'm all right with that. Vegas is kind of like right where I thought we would you see him finish as well. So this is kind of who Brad was really the back half of the season. Like I didn't have Brad in my playoff projection, so I'm not really so surprised by the slow start. He definitely has to dig his way out of a hole, and now it's going to probably come down to a win. So like I'm where I was coming into this season, Elliot, on Brad.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. My thought was maybe for Keselowski, like you said, he got top 15s at Vegas and Coda, crashed out, no fault of his own, really, at Atlanta and Phoenix. I think he and maybe Denny Hamlin, too. I know he's not on the panic meter. He's run pretty well. Some of these older veterans, maybe they're starting to be out of their prime. Maybe they're starting to lose a step. We may have seen that the last few years with Keselowski. I think he's still a fringe playoff guy, though. You're right. I think it does probably come down to a win.
The cliff
rather
comes
than
quick.
pointing his
The
way
cliff
in.
comes quick, man. Like Kevin
It
Harvick,
does. Yep.
no wins in. I mean, he got snake
That
bitten in
was
Phoenix.
Stuart
Yeah,
Haas, though. That was
yeah.
the other big
But
problem with Harvick.
Martin Truex Jr. no wins in his last year. Like it happens.
Yep.
The cliff does come for you quick. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it's not here for our boy Bad Brad though. We need some American flags blasting down there on the front stretch when he wins.
Hey, maybe one more time. We'll see. Only got one win at Daytona. That's always a place where he does well.
Yeah.
Second driver, Noah Gragson, is P33 in the points in the front row, number 4, almost running as if he wasn't that Stuart Haas number 4 with how bad those cars were at the end of the year. Time to sound the horn on Gragson.
I mean, this is tough, dude. This is tough because it's a very, very rocky start. This was kind of the time last year he was starting to build momentum, had a great run at Vegas. Not so much this year. Like outside of that, top 10 run at Coda, he hasn't really done too much. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't like even last week at Elliott, when we were gambling on him, like he was a guy running top 10 all day, really good, clean run, got into Blaney there. And then I don't know if that eventually hurt his car, but after that, like he kind of started tanking on one of those late runs there, ends up getting into the wall. So I don't know. I don't want to say I'm probably 3 on Noah Gragson. I think he can still turn it around, but this was kind of always a guy who had to win to get in, right?
Yeah, I would say so in terms of the playoffs. In terms of sounding the panic siren, I'm a no on Noah Gragson. He's been if we were going to have an asterisk mark driver of the season so far, we have the asterisk mark driver of the week. I'm giving it to Gragson. That was the point I was trying to put together. He was running kind of all right at Atlanta and pretty well at both Phoenix and Vegas, and gets caught in incidents. We see that all the time. Guys either get caught in their own problems or other people's problems. Daytona 500, always a wild card. You can almost, this is a wild card, put it to the side. And had a great run at Coda, ran top 5, finished 8th. I think he's on par in terms of performance-wise. Obviously, the points aren't where they want to be. They were always going to be a fringe playoff. Probably have to win to make it in. High 20s in the points. That's still where I see Noah Gragson. I don't think it's time to panic yet.
Well, and he's the type of ballsy motherfucker that gets hot and he stays hot for a stretch, right? Like, and he can get hot at any time. Like, you're not going to see it coming. Just like last year, there's that stretch where I think it was 4 races. He had 3 top 10s. We're going to see that at some point. When he gets hot, we're going to ride it. But until then, you're going to kind of stay cold off on him from betting perspective. So Noah Gragson, I still not panicking yet, but I do not feel the same about this last driver we're going to speak on.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it definitely is time to hit the panic button for Ty Gibbs at 34th in the points. He's probably got the best car out of these 3 we talked about, but has been the worst this year. The team and the driver have both just looked completely out to lunch this year. It's not just that they're having those incidents. It's that they're consistently qualifying poorly. They're running poorly. They're not having any speed at all. Multiple races this year, this 54 is getting lapped or nearly getting lapped just on pure speed, which is not where you see Joe Gibbs Racing cars run. I think it could even be a greater issue of Joe Gibbs Racing outside of Bell kind of being mid at times this year. That's more of the put on the tinfoil hat theory that we don't have the time for right now. But it certainly is Ty Gibbs getting the worst of it. And I think it's definitely time to panic because we saw this at the end of last year. Didn't run well at all. Again, part incidents, part just not having the speed. Part of it is the team not having the speed. Maybe there's going to be a crew chief change there at some point. I think Joe will look to shake things up with this 54 team if this continues, and really he'll have to.
Ever since Ty Gibbs did that thing, I think it was at Sonoma. It was one of those road courses in the summer where he spins around in the Xfinity Series, hits Chandler Smith. It's like he flipped a switch and just became a terrible driver. Like it feels like every time he's in the car, something crazy's happening. Very happy he's okay after what happened on dirt last week. He took a little bit of a tumble there. But Ellie, these are the finishes going back to last year in the fall. At Phoenix, championship race, crashes out, finishes 40th. Martinsville.
Lap one. Didn't even make it around the first lap.
Martinsville, running 32nd. Homestead, running 36th. Las Vegas, 30th, running. Roval, engine blown, 35th. Talladega, 13th. Kansas, 5th. That was his last top 5. That was his last top 10 too. And before that, it was a pretty ugly stretch, leading back to Daytona. So this is one of those situations, man, where I don't know what to think because I feel a little conflicted, Elliot. I feel very conflicted because as a human being, like I'm rooting for Ty Gibbs because this is a guy who I think we all remember him losing his dad, very, very close to that Xfinity Series championship race. And, as someone who's gone through some shit in their life, man, like I have nothing but respect for people who can overcome adversity and make themselves better. But at the same time too, like, I don't think it's any secret that, from a media perspective that Ty Gibbs, seems like he doesn't give a shit sometimes when you're talking to him. You could go out there and ask other drivers questions and they'll give you the best answer they can. And sometimes it feels like Ty Gibbs just has to be there. And it's a tough situation, right? When you know you're not going to lose your ride. Dale Jr. talked about that on his podcast earlier this week. Like he felt that kind of at the end of his Hendrick tenure. So that is tough. But at the same time, like, would it not hurt for this guy maybe to go down to Xfinity for a year and just like start carving motherfuckers up again? Like I miss that Ty Gibbs. I miss the Ty Gibbs from early last season, Elliot, who we almost hit a 28-1 at the Busch Light Clash on him. Like I miss that Ty Gibbs. Where is that Ty Gibbs?
I think he doesn't know himself and probably he'll do his best to find it. One of those deals, the media thing you're talking about, as well as the performance. This is a really young kid. He's what? Is he even 21 yet? I mean, he's still so young. And this is the first time in his life where he hasn't gone out there and won everything and whooped everybody. It's the first challenge of adversity in terms of in the car that he's seen. And it'll be interesting to watch how it goes. Not losing your ride is definitely a big advantage. Forget the end of Junior's Hendrick career. 2009 and 2010, year 2 and 3 with Hendrick, he's in the mid-20s in the points. And Ty Gibbs right now, that's where he's looking like would be his upside if these runs continue.
Yeah. Like if I have to put it back on the meter, I'd probably give it a 7. I'm
probably a little higher than that, just because it's not. I feel like it's not just the driver; it's just the car and the cars. There's something that is just not clicking with this 54 group.
New crew chief too, right? Like that doesn't help anything. But you got a guy like
they're probably still gelling a little bit, but
you got a guy like Gabehart calling the shots though. So it's like I believe in Chris Gabehart. If there's one guy I believe in, in that personnel like director level that I want calling the shots, it's Chris Gabehart. So if anyone can figure it out, it's him, and hopefully it can kind of trickle down to the crew chief and down to Ty as well. But hope only gets so far, baby.
Yeah, poor Gabehart might have to get back on the pit box and on the road by the time we're there in Pocono. Things will pick up, but we'll see.